Start out with the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll start out with the approval of the minutes from June 6th, 2023 meeting. We did not meet in July with no agenda items. Does anybody have any comments or concerns about the minutes?
The minutes look correct to me. I would make a move to accept them as they are written.
Okay,
One second.
so motion, second, all in favor? Aye. So unanimous approval of the minutes. So we'll go to new business and review and discuss text amendments to section 155.2.10 of the Unified Development Ordinance open space requirements. And we'll ask Tony to come forward and discuss.
Madam Chair, and members of the planning board, this is probably our third or fourth time that we're looking at this open space text amendment to 155.2.10. We started looking at it in February, March. We looked at it again in June. It's been looked at with an ad hoc committee several times. So this is back to you again. So at the July 12th, 2023 Board of Alderman meeting, this agenda item for these ordinances was reviewed. And after much discussion from the board and the public, they voted 3-2 not approving the ordinances. The board decided to send this back to members of the planning board and the ad hoc committee for some revisions and staff. So this is what we've done. So you can refer to ordinance number 2023-1850. And on page 6, it's just the same background information that we've had. It's consistent with our Campbell Land Use Plan. We still have the February planning board meeting. We have the comments from there, our March meeting, and then our May, and then our July 12th on page 7. We did advertise for this legal advertisement announcing the August 1st meeting concerning the text amendment to 155.2.10. It ran on July the 21st, 2023. And this also will be scheduled for our September Board of Alderman meeting that's coming up. So we'll be advertising for that meeting. So the requested action on page 7, you can consider ordinance number 2023-1850. Staff does recommend that the planning board forward a favorable recommendation to the Board of Alderman for ordinance number 2023-1850, along with the statement of consistency. In attachments, we have the open space ordinance, statement of consistency, and then our draft board minutes from the July 12th, 2023 meeting. And in that also, we have a definition under Exhibit A definitions. We have a definition for vertical outdoor platform lifts on page 11. So I'd like to submit that for your consideration. If you have any questions from me, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
That'll be new, won't it? That'll be added to the definition.
Yes, that's new. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I don't think it looks good.
And on page 9, you see the differences there in blue would be the new verbiage there on vertical outdoor platform. And then everything else stayed the same except for the outdoor showers you take out. So
You did take the outdoor showers
Yes.
completely.
Yes.
And the arbor only as a gate, right?
Arbor is still in there. Yes, it's the same.
But not freestanding, only as a gate.
Okay.
Part of the fence,
Yeah.
yeah.
Part of the fence.
But I still want to ask a question. I'm still,
Okay.
I know y'all, I'm
If you
sorry.
ask one more time, that's one.
Well, I have a picture. I wanna know, if you've got a fence this way and you attach an arbor, some people, I have one across the street from me, an arbor like this. It's got all this ivy growing on, it's very beautiful, but it's attached to a fence. It's attached to the fence that leads, for this particular spot, it leads out to where our docks are. So the fence goes like this along Wayne it. Arbor starts here, goes up like this, it's huge. I showed you a picture of it. So is that
Now,
tall?
is this on the shore zone?
Yes.
So technically, it shouldn't be there because our ordinance says nothing greater than 3 feet in the shore zone. Technically. That's what it says.
Okay, so
So
what keeps,
fences and, people have put them there, I'm sure, in other areas too, but, the shore zone, nothing greater than 3 feet unless the Board of Aldermen approves it.
okay, but what keeps somebody from attaching an arbor like that in their setback if it's attached to a fence?
I think they, if it's a part of the fence, I think they could, as long as it's not over 7.5 feet. So you could do that to put vines on it. I think it would be fine as long as it's like we described it. And then it's no taller than 7.5 feet. I think they could do that.
Okay. All right, that's the last time I'm gonna say anything about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Because I just have a different definition of what an arbor is,
Okay.
and it's not gay.
Well, you've got an example that really bothers you too, so.
But it bothered me,
Yeah.
I just was like saying that opens up a whole slew of people that can be done. Anyway, just anything wrong there. Just wanted to make sure I.
Okay.
That's it.
I got a question regarding the retaining wall building.
Yes.
I just wanted to understand that the requirement for a civil engineer to sign off on it is for anything over the 30 inches.
No, over 48 inches is the key number there.
Where are you referencing?
So Tony,
Page number 14.
Okay.
so Tony, that was then done with the last New Text Amendment.
We
It
did.
Raised it to 48 inches.
If that reads wrong, Neil, we can technically change that, but the North Carolina Building Code says anything 48, greater than 48 inches requires engineering.
Well, that was my question, because this, the juxtapose of 30 inches and then 48 inches there's this space. Is that the space that has to be addressed?
No, it's just that number.
It's not that 18 inches.
No,
It's anything beyond 48.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I don't think it reads that way then, does it?
No, but wasn't there a cap put on?
48 inches is the cap for this right here.
Yeah.
Well, it says no greater than 48
Yeah,
inches.
my understanding of this and recollection of the meeting was that you've got 30 inches, you can work with that, but if you have to go over 30. You can go up to 48, but it's gonna require an engineer, and that's why I was questioning if that's truly the interpretation or not. I think that was the intent. Because it doesn't stipulate a maximum beyond 48.
Yeah, I don't, if that reads like that, we can't be more restrictive than the building code. In other words, the town can't pass an ordinance saying if it's 30 inches, you gotta have an engineer. The number has to be 48 inches. So if that needs to be tweaked, we can do that before it goes to the Board of Aldermen.
Yeah, because I read that to say that if it's over 30 but less than 48, it needs to have a
Right.
civil.
It's an 18-inch gap.
Yeah, we can,
But he's
we-
saying he'll correct it.
yeah, we can address that, but we can't be more restrictive than the North Carolina state.
Right, right.
So that needs to be addressed then.
So what are you saying? Take that out?
I was
About the
questioning the
civil engineer.
interpretation,
Yeah.
whatever it is, it's gotta be clear, that it wasn't clear to me.
Okay, we'll clear
It
that
could be
up.
interpreted the way you said it, or
Right, we'll clear it up before it goes to the V. But I could get challenged on that if we say, okay, if it's over 30, you gotta have an engineer, and that's not.
Right.
but this has already been approved. Susan.
It has,
saying this,
it has been, so we may need some changes.
This was the Mountain Street
Right,
one, right?
yes, sir.
That one that we did before?
Yeah. No,
On Mallard Street,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Um, Does anyone have any questions about the vertical outdoor platform lift section in blue for A through G? The verbiage of it, or concerns about the verbiage? Vertical outdoor. Yes.
The HVAC thing is 6 feet, right? The stand.
Mhm.
No,
is
the
Same length,
HVAC stand can be up to 30 feet long and 4 feet wide.
4 feet wide.
4 feet wide, 30 feet long.
Feet.
So the elevator shaft can be no longer.
Yeah,
than
that's
that.
what-
No more than
Length
that.
of 6 feet. We didn't have a length
Yeah,
in
it
there
was
before, so
16.
no greater than 6 feet.
So you added 6 feet,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
But basically, the only thing that's changed is the wording of the lift. From previous and the elimination of outdoor shower.
That's about
Enclosed
it.
outdoor shower.
Yeah, and the definition of outdoor lift, we did that.
Yeah.
And then, well, the 6 foot, about 4 feet, and then about going up 1 story, I think we did that.
It can go up to the first
The
floor.
first floor
Only the first floor.
is how we did that.
And the freestanding arbors are out of there too.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think we put I don't think there was a size on it either. F shall not exceed 16 square feet. I think
Yeah,
we,
that's from the outside.
right. And that allots Tony for the electrical box on the
Electrical,
side.
the rails of these lifts are
Uh-huh.
outside the elevator, so we had to look at those things. To make sure it would apply to some of these lifts that we see.
Okay,
Item 5A, where it talks about the arbor. It isn't just to a fence or a wall, it was also to contiguous landscaping, because I remember the discussion was around, what if you had hedges and then you had the arbor? It would be a contiguous barrier, except for the opening in the arbor, but it didn't have to be a fence.
Hmm.
That's how it's worded.
Tell me where that was.
5A, page 10.
Yeah, a wall or contiguous landscape. But it's in there, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't, what you mean, but my statement was it was fence. I got you.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
was
was.
stating
that's what
it
I'm
wrong.
talking to, yeah.
I've got you.
Well, Tony, you can tweak that too, just like the other one if you need to. then.
No, I don't think we need to tweak that one, I don't think, do we?
Because it says or contiguous landscape,
I was just,
just like hedge.
So you wanna take that out then, what you saying?
I'm not advocating that, I was just
Okay.
raising that.
Yeah, cause see, I stated it
It
wrong. I
said-
said it was in a fence.
attached to a fence.
Yeah.
Just not freestanding in the middle of your
Yeah.
yard.
Right,
And people do that. I mean,
mm-hmm.
little decoration.
Okay.
So is that coming out of that?
And
Staying in.
Yes, it's gonna stay in it. Just don't want it freestanding in the middle of the yard.
Did you want to add? And by no means freestanding.
Well, it says no standalone.
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah, and it does have contiguous land, so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's got that in
It's
there.
got it in there.
Just that I had stated. it.
Okay, good. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Any other comments from the planning board?
Yes.
Or concerns? Mhm.
Quick question. So, what the proposal is, means you can have your 30 feet. And then you can have an additional 6 feet,
For the stand.
understand?
Yeah,
30
I
foot
think,
stand
yeah, I think,
plus
6 feet now?
yeah, I think so, I think,
This wouldn't go into the 30.
no, I don't think so, it talks about the HVAC stands are completely separate. And typically on the older homes, you don't, is the adoption of the ordinance. Most of them are, except on the real new houses, are 30 feet.
Mhm.
The older houses, you don't see them quite as 30. You see some, a lot less, but this would,
But there's nothing in there that actually talks specifically about 30 feet plus an additional 6 feet, is there?
no, but I would, if I'm interpreting it, I would say that you could have 30-foot HVAC and then a 6-foot platform, unless somebody writes it different or whatever.
But you would say, because there aren't many houses that would actually qualify for this.
I don't think
So
so.
you would think that those houses that may qualify for this, they haven't used their full 30 feet anyway.
I don't think so, no.
So it
And
may,
most of the time, too, David, your HVAC system is where your porches are. It's usually on them.
right, but your porches are gonna be on the front, typically on the front, and I think that the lift is not allowed to be on the front.
Right, no, the front setback,
Right,
front
Mhm.
setback.
right. Yeah, front setback.
Right.
Yeah.
It can
So
be on
it
the
wouldn't
front,
be
it's
an
not
issue to
set.
keep that 6 feet within the 30 feet, if, what he's saying, right? Well, my question
Yeah.
is, are we gonna allow 6 more feet within the setback, or are we gonna keep it with that 30 feet, within that 30 feet? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I see exactly what you're
And
saying.
no one,
Mhm.
it does not read anything like that, other than it can be 6 feet.
Yeah,
So if Tony thinks that most of the houses that would actually qualify for this, which are very few on the beach,
uh-huh,
I would say, why not? If we're gonna agree to this, let's keep it within that 30 feet setback. If you wanna use
Yeah.
6 feet of your setback for the lift. Right.
Mhm.
Because most of them aren't gonna go on the same side. I mean, like I say, your HVAC system is not where you go up and down out of your house. Most of the time, is yours? Mine is, maybe I'm just,
mine,
my neighbors, like all my neighbors have the HVAC on one side and then their entrance on the other side.
yeah,
If the planning board feels strongly that we can, modify this to say,
Included in,
include.
Include- we should do that,
Included within your 30 feet.
yeah,
Setback.
So,
it's a lot of feet.
Yes, it
it
is.
is a lot of
Definitely.
feet,
so I think we can
So if you'd use
address
30.
that when it goes to the Board of Aldermen, to say the total cannot exceed 30 feet,
uh-huh,
including if you have a lift.
right,
So we'll put that somewhere in there when it goes to the Board of Aldermen.
okay,
Maybe just
Because
say
you
that
know,
this
in that
6 feet
ordinance,
is
it
included.
says the
Mhm.
things are on
This-
that,
this
in that
6 feet
thing,
isn't
it-
included.
or others things.
Specifically lists what you could put in that 30
But it
foot
doesn't say
setback, and
that,
if we
but it should.
say you can
Yeah,
put
yeah.
this lift within that 30 foot setback, I think it at least keeps it within the confines of what we have
In
now,
that ordinance, it says HVAC,
and just add lift.
and that's part of it.
Just
mhm,
add lift.
I think it should be part of
Well,
it,
Yes.
We'll modify that before
Mhm.
it goes to the Board of Aldermen.
Didn't think of that, Dave.
yeah, I know, that was a great,
That's a good
Catch.
catch, 6 feet within the 30.
mhm,
Could you just put it in there under C2,
Yeah, we'll
where it's
see.
talking about mechanical equipment, including but not limited to,
Yes, I think we could do something like that.
right in there,
Right,
lifts?
right.
So, just to be clear, that we're not mixing apples and oranges here. There's a 30-foot linear
Mhm.
across the whatever space side or rear. You're not saying that the lift has to be associated with the utility stand.
No, I don't think so.
No.
We're just saying the
Not
two
more
can't
than-
exceed 30 feet.
yeah,
So we're saying it can be in a different spot location.
it can be in a different spot, it just can't,
But there would be no additional.
and it doesn't have to be like
No,
all one,
and typically they're not, they're gonna be completely separate, I mean,
mhm,
but we can adjust that to where it reads a total of 30.
okay,
Where'd you see the good spot for that?
So is there,
see,
C2.
Cheryl pointed out, yeah.
is there a limitation on,
No, utility service
Hey,
equipment
Jake.
stands, stairs shall not be considered in calculating the permitted.
There's a-
see,
Just, that's what it was.
30-foot length of the encroaching,
Yeah.
yeah,
the length of stairs depends on the height they have to go up, so
mhm,
that's why it's so thick.
So it's 3B, not 2.
Yeah, because it gives you a bunch of things, units, electrical meters and
So added
generators,
it, we're adding it in
and
there.
that can count as one of them, yeah.
So if the lift needs to be, it can't be more than 4 into the setback, but it could also be a little bit longer than 4 foot laterally.
6 feet.
Then is it stipulating up to 6 feet?
Yes.
That's the max.
Yes, it does, it is a max of 6 feet.
Okay, so if you apply 5 feet against 30 feet, that leaves 25 foot of.
Yes, sir.
utility stand. Okay.
That's correct.
That's 6 feet.
mhm. Okay,
It's not in the definition, but it says on that other side.
Pick up there, John.
Yeah,
So Tony, you're gonna put that in section B, under number 3,
You said what section now, 3?
3, under B.
We'll talk with the town attorney to see
Okay.
where the best place to put it. It could be that area there, so I'll see, once we have it, we'll send it back to the planning board.
You'll just correct it when you go to
yeah.
the board of aldermen, right?
yeah,
It'll come
it
back.
won't need to
No,
come
it
back
won't,
to us.
no, it
Okay.
won't come back here.
Okay.
I'll just let you know
don't
what
wanna
to do.
see it again.
You'll just let us know.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay,
That was a good spot.
that was a good spot. Any other good finds, questions, comments, concerns from planning board? Okay. I will.
Yeah,
open-
I'm sorry, I did have one question, Tony. But when we arrived at the 30-foot dimension for the utility stand, it was based on the estimated unit sizes.
Mhm.
So there's an implication here that the homeowner would have to. But are we restricting this to only existing buildings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. never mind.
yes, the only existing.
No question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was it.
Um. Okay. All right, so we'll,
These are the 2 things we make when they lower the emotion.
yeah, okay, thanks for. So we'll open up the public portion of the meeting. If anyone would like to come up and speak or have a comment, you can come ahead.
Thank you for allowing me to speak,
Mhm.
Madam Chairman, members of the board. I'm here to ask that you reverse the unfavorable recommendation to the Board of Aldermen regarding lifts and setbacks in our town. It's just a fact that in our town with flooding risk and hurricanes that many of us have to live on the second floor. And if you live in an older house, and I do, I live in a small house with a very small lot. My lot is 50 feet across, of which 15 feet of it is setback. So I have a 35-foot wide house. It does not leave a lot of area to put a lift. I'm assuming that the board, this board is not so cold-hearted that they're against lifts for people getting into their house. And that the issue is where the lift can be located and who determines the most appropriate site and the process you go through to get your lift. I understand the need for setbacks. But lifts to me and to many people are more important than HVACs, propane tanks, generators, and other things that are commonly allowed without restriction in the setbacks, except for the 4 feet or 3.5 feet. The elevators to me are just another utility to help, like an air conditioner, so it helps me live. And it should be treated exactly like other utilities. There's no reason to say that it's not as important to have as an air conditioner or a propane tank, and that you actually need more restrictions on the elevator than you need on these other utilities. To me, it's just, I cannot understand why they're treated differently. The board in the past has a 2-part rationale through my understanding of why that they don't want elevators and setbacks. The first argument was that lifts should be allowed in the setbacks only if they cannot be placed somewhere else. I mean, I've heard that over and over again. And this would only make sense if the same rule was applied to air conditioners, propane tanks, and generators, which is just very similar. So if you tell somebody he needs an elevator, that you can put it somewhere else and only you can put it in a setback if it can't go somewhere else, you should probably use that same standard for your HVAC and put it on the front of your house. You can, within You could put all those things on your front of the house. If not, none of them are very attractive and nobody wants them there. I mean, nobody in town wants their air conditioner or their propane tank sitting in their front yard. And so it's beyond me why there's that differentiation is made. The other problem with it, it can only go there if it can go somewhere else. Well, that opens a can of worms of who determines somewhere else. Is it gonna be Tony? I don't think Tony wants to go look at everybody's house and decided this is the best place. I did have the fire chief come to my house and look at it, and he said our place. He said, I think this is the best. The trouble is, the area took up where the elevator was gonna be, and there was this much room to get a wheelchair out. It just doesn't work. There's no place that really works well. The second reason put forth by Mr. Workman was that requests for lifts are best addressed as a special use permit or a variance. I think that's what I heard him say. And I think it's wrong for two reasons. First, getting old or handicapped is not an exceptional experience. It happens to us all. And if you're in a small house or a small lot and not on a big new house that has inside elevators, this becomes very important if you want to stay in the house. So, and it will happen to anybody. It's not something that just only one or two people in the town will have. It's going to happen to all of us at one point in time. You're going to get old and you can't climb the stairs. It needs not you don't need to treat each person who wants an elevator as an exception, because it's a common need across the community, and it should be a broadband remedy and not taken case by case. It's also a great handicap if you go through a variance process. It's expensive. It's $500 a file. You got to get a lawyer. I know this well because I've been before you with a lawyer and the Board of Variance, and I'm probably $13,000 into this already, and it's just not the right thing to do. I'm sure this board realizes that the request for allowing setback has overwhelming support in the community. When I kind of met a dead end at all, before I actually looked up some more and found out there was a petition, and it was available to me, and 218 people with very little effort and nobody against it signed the petition to allow me to have elevators in my setback. And also, the Board of Aldermen set up an ad hoc committee, and this ad hoc committee was charged with the study of what to do with setbacks. And they came back after 8 months of study and a very good report. They pretty much said, as a quality of life issue, that they recommended that elevators be allowed. And then finally, at last week's or 2 weeks ago's board meeting, there was a public hearing. I had a relatively large amount of people, especially for 4:30 in the afternoon. All my doctor friends couldn't come because they were still seeing patients, but we had a large and vocal turnout that supported having elevators in the setback, as the ad hoc committee in my initial petition recommended. There was not a single person who was against it. But I think the planning board here is an outlier in our town about its feelings about elevator and setback. It is really outside what the wishes of the town people are. When I was listening to the Pledge of Allegiance, it seemed ironic to me that we ended it with liberty and justice for all. And if this text amendment is not passed, there is no justice or liberty for the elderly and handicapped. And I just ask you to do the right thing, reconsider, and send a favorable report to the Board of Aldermen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on this? Okay, we'll close the public portion of the meeting. And, any discussion? Anybody like to say anything?
I'd just like to say, it's Mr. Temple, decided to single me out alone. As you know, the Board of Adjustment is for people with hardships. So going in front of the Board of Adjustment when you have a hardship, you have to prove you have a hardship. If you don't have a hardship, then you're probably not going to be, the variance is probably not going to be granted. My understanding is even in the last Board of Alderman meeting, when people came up to speak, there was a member that had been on the planning board that came up and said that he doesn't believe there's any more than 6 houses on this entire island that would actually be affected by this lift. So to say that liberty and justice for all, that this board up here, that we're denying liberty and justice for all, I just don't think that's accurate. I think that's a change of narrative. I think in all honesty, I think it's pretty disappointing that people would accuse us of doing that. Because we don't have to be on the sport. You know, we're residents of Red School Beach, and you look at, we all have parents, friends, they're getting up in age. Dr. Temple, my dad's the same age as you. I've talked to him. He plays golf just as often. He doesn't play anymore, but I know you play golf all the time. So it's one of those things that we're trying to be consistent. There's an avenue when you have hardships, whether it be for a lift, whether it be for something else. There's a board that is set aside to determine whether it is a hardship, and that's the avenue that you choose. So whereas before I've talked about not changing the entire code, because there is that avenue to get that variance, I still believe in that. I do also understand that the ad hoc committee has worked hard and planning board has worked hard, and we've come together and you know, to some sort of compromise with this ordinance. So I plan to support this current ordinance, but the rhetoric that has been from people saying that this board is doing something wrong, including people on this board, it's just a little bit disappointing. Because we're out here, we're not doing anything wrong. We're doing, I know I'm doing what I believe is right. And we're all volunteering our time, so I don't think it's fair to take cheap shots at us.
I couldn't agree more.
Very well said.
Very well said.
I'm very disappointed that it got to a personal level. When I sit up here, I never say anything negative about anyone and insult or be rude to anyone, because they're all important to me. I wouldn't do this if I didn't think that every single resident was important. And so I just, I do make my decisions accordingly and try to make the decisions for the majority of the people. Not just 1 or 2 people, but the best thing for everyone. When you own land, when you want to do something, you have to be sure that it's not infringing on somebody else's rights. You have to make sure that all that goes together. So I have a lot of history with trying to make the right decision so that does go together.
May I make one thing in the bubble?
No, I think it's closed. The public portion of the meeting is closed.
I'd like to just say one thing in reference to, I think, again, that everybody here has worked very hard, that ad hoc committee, and I know that we have talked about this how many times? 4 or 5 times it's come to us, and we have all done our homework and worked hard and we are trying to work this out for everybody, but I agree, David, I just, you struck a chord with me. You're absolutely right. To liberty and justice for all, absolutely. And I think we've done that. It's best that we can and I just, I agree with you. I can't agree with you more.
Yeah, I do too. So thank you for your statement. Would anyone else like to comment? Say anything?
I have a question regarding the text. 2 questions. Since the word elevator has been used several times, we're not voting on an elevator.
No, we're voting on a lift. Cannot be enclosed.
And then page 9, 4F. The platform of a permitted vertical outdoor lift shall not exceed 16 square feet. That should be 24, right?
No, I thought the same thing, but
4x4.
that's the basket
4x4
itself.
you can sit in.
Yeah, that's the basket itself of the elevator. The other is the
Lift.
including with the
Motors.
rails and things like that. So that's why the two are there. It's actually the 4x4 is the actual place where you stand inside the elevator.
Mhm.
Lift and stuff.
Or have a wheelchair.
And does that accommodate a wheelchair?
That does accommodate what we've seen in the
We've
lift.
looked up all of that.
Looked it all up.
Thank you.
And we involve Robert and I can pull up all of it.
Any other questions? Any other comments?
And I would just like to make sure that the reading of the 6 feet, okay, all associated with it. Got it. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2023-1850 with adding those two sections, Tony.
Right.
Where the,
Can you read my writing?
no,
Okay, sorry.
that's okay.
Just the two things he was gonna
To
add.
include the 6 feet into the 30 feet.
Right. And then you were gonna tweak number 14. I know that's not the proper word.
Which was
Number 14 about
yeah,
the retaining. wall.
retaining
Make it-
walls.
yeah.
Yeah,
just clarify that a little bit more.
And I'll second that.
All in favor? With an eye?
You get that, Robert?
7.
Yes, ma'am, I have it.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. So, okay, let's move on. Any old business from anyone?
I had something, I can't remember. I should have made a note, I forgot.
Any other business anyone would like to discuss? No worries. Business from the staff?
We may have a couple of tax amendments, amending tax amendments for a couple of businesses. Like for outside seating, so they may or not be coming in September, they could. So we got the applications, we've had them for about a week now, so it'll be just amending 2 businesses that may happen in September, not sure yet, so.
If they want outside seating,
Well, they've got it.
So they got it.
Yeah, so, we're just trying to make them legal. We've had a few complaints, but.
Is it sidewalk?
No,
Outdoor
it's not
seating?
sidewalk,
Okay,
it's just picnic tables and stuff.
okay.
That's what.
picnic tables and stuff.
I have a question, actually, Tony. What is going on with the lip of the curve that was removed to make parking space?
There
from-
on North Lumen.
Yes.
Okay, we have met with the individuals a couple of times. There's a deadline for middle of August. It has to be done the next few weeks. Has to be put back by the middle of August, so.
Okay,
Is that the place with the orange cones? Or the one across the street?
across the street where the curve was removed.
We've addressed
Without
both
permission.
situations
Yeah.
with our own cones on the other side. And we're giving them to, we've met with them a couple times and an attorney. And we can give them to the middle of August here, August 16th, I think. It's the day.
Mhm.
What happens after that?
It's a fine. per day.
That's where the fine starts.
Okay. Any other business from anyone?
What's going on with Bevy Mark?
Not sure. I know they poured the back wall. I don't know if they're having some issues back there, but they poured the back wall, and when you flood-proof a building, there's a lot of concrete that goes in and formwork, so that's what they're doing now.
I'm considering, I'm sure.
So is there anything pending by the town to enable that project to continue?
Which one?
Anyway,
Bevy Mark, they got their permits and
Yeah.
stuff, so.
yeah,
They
it's just that people blame
Yeah, so right now, I'm not sure.
Why isn't it there yet? It's,
Yeah, they're just, I think they're working and I think all this concrete work and rain is kind of, you got them behind maybe the schedule.
All those bars, so that's the,
Yeah,
the waterproofing it, part of it, that's probably an expensive deal.
it is.
I do have one other question, and it's more of a procedural question, and it's regarding, like signage. I don't know if that, y'all are just doing lighting, I think, but, if we wanted to, or if the Rudy Rascals with the Harbor Island Garden Club wanted to display more signs regarding, pet danger for walking in, 85+ degree heat.
Mhm.
It's awful what you see out
Oh, I
there.
know. I see the dogs just stopping. That's what
I see them collapse.
Yeah.
I've seen probably about 5 this summer. And-
Some of those signs are exempt from the sign ordinance, like for safety reasons and health are exempt, so. But the board may have to, the Board of Aldermen may have to approve some, if they're gonna be on the
If
loop.
they're gonna be on the loop, it will have to be approved.
Yes,
Okay. Okay,
yeah, so that'd be. approved.
because I know Rudy Rascals could probably help do that, although it might be better if it was more of an, official sign than something
Right.
written by a child, but,
Right.
it would be great to kind of involve if we could
Okay,
on some
That might
level.
be something to encourage Shannon to do more of too, is just patrol that a little more.
Well, I'm not sure legally you can
can.
prevent,
Oh,
right,
yeah,
David?
thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, I've looked into it, but yeah. So, okay, well, that's all I had. So, we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
That's it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn? Okay.